So you're standing on a cliff in Bali. The sun is setting perfectly behind a temple, and you're holding a coconut that cost more than your first car's insurance premium. You've got the linen shirt, the "found myself" tan, and a caption about how collecting memories is better than collecting things. You feel enlightened. You feel free. But here's the thing. While you're finding yourself in a hostel in Lisbon or a beach club in Tulum, you're actually losing the one thing you can never get back, and it isn't your passport. It's the sheer, unadulterated power of time-weighted capital. We've been fed this massive, romanticized lie that your 20s are for exploration and that financial stability is something you can just figure out in your 30s. It sounds poetic, right? It sounds like a movie trailer. But in reality, the experience economy is a high-speed vacuum designed to suck the compounding potential out of your most valuable decade. We're going to run the numbers today and prove that your gap year is actually a 20-year sentence to a cubicle. Why are we so terrified of being boring now that we're willing to be broke later? Let's dive into the wreckage. The trap here is a masterpiece of psychological warfare. It's called the FOMO industrial complex. You see, our parents' generation was told to buy a house and a lawnmower. That was the dream. But since houses now cost roughly the same as a small moon, the market had to pivot. If they can't sell you a mortgage, they'll sell you a memory. They've convinced you that spending $5,000 on a 3-week trip to Japan isn't spending, it's investing in your soul. It's a brilliant pivot. You aren't being a spendthrift, you're being a global citizen. You aren't blowing your savings, you're enriching your perspective. It's like being robbed by a guy who gives you a really nice pamphlet about the history of the knife he's holding. We follow this advice because we're terrified of the standard life. We see people in their 40s with minivans and mortgage stress, and we think, I'll never be that guy, I'll be the travel blog guy. But the system loves the travel blog guy. The travel blog guy is a perpetual renter who will be working until he's 75 because he spent his seed money years paying for overpriced Aperol spritzes in European plazas. We've replaced building a foundation with building a highlight reel, and the foundationless house always collapses eventually. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a base of artisanal sand. Sure, the view from the top is great for a second, but the ground is moving, and not in a fun let's go to an earthquake-themed bar kind of way. Anyway, back to the disaster. Let's talk about the biological clock of your bank account. See, your money has a puberty phase. If you feed it and take care of it between the ages of 20 and 30, it grows into a monster that can support you forever. If you starve it during that time because you needed to trek the Andes to find out that you actually just like air conditioning, it stays stunted forever. The experience economy relies on the youthful immortality fallacy, the idea that your earning power will only go up and your energy will stay the same. It's a scam. Your 30s are for a back pain and realizing that you actually hate loud music. Your 20s are your only chance to play the game on easy mode with regard to compound interest. I once knew a guy who spent 3 years drifting through Southeast Asia. He came back with some great stories, a very questionable tattoo of a dragon, and exactly $0 in his 401k. He's now 38, living with 3 roommates and realizing that his spiritual awakening in Thailand didn't actually cover the cost of a root canal. He's experienced, sure, but he's also one bad flu away from total financial ruin. It's hilarious if you don't think about it too hard. Let's look at the hidden math, because math is the only thing that doesn't try to sell you a plane to Reykjavik. Let's look at scenario A. Adventure Alex. Alex is 24. He decides to spend $10,000 a year on experiences for 5 years. That's $50,000 total. He's hiking, he's partying, he's living. By 29, he's had a blast, but his net worth is a pile of ticket stubs. Now let's look at Ben. Ben stays home. He works a job he thinks is okay. He invests that same $10,000 a year into a boring total market fund from ages 24 to 29. After those 5 years, Ben stops investing entirely. He just lets that $50,000 sit there until he's 65. Assuming an 8% average return, Ben's 50 grand turns into over $780,000. Now, here's the kicker. If Alex waits until he's 35 to start getting serious because he's done with his exploration phase, he would have to invest nearly $2,000 every single month for 30 years just to catch up to what Ben did in his 20s. Alex has to work 10 times harder for 10 times longer just to pay for the memories he made when he was 24. The cost of those hostels wasn't $50,000. The cost was $700,000 and a decade of his freedom. The experience economy isn't selling you memories, it's selling you a future of indentured servitude. To illustrate how this plays out, let's look at Toby. Toby is the king of the digital nomad lie. Toby works from a laptop in Bali. He posts photos of his office, which is a beach, and talks about escaping the 9-to-5. But Toby is actually a slave to the algorithm. Because he's spending everything he earns on the lifestyle he's projecting, he has no safety net. When the Wi-Fi goes out or his laptop breaks, Toby is in a full-blown crisis. Toby is 32 and has the financial stability of a toddler in a casino. He thinks he's beating the system, but the system is actually using Toby as a billboard to lure more 20-somethings into the same trap. Toby doesn't have an office on the beach. He has a workspace with no climate control and a high probability of sand in his hardware. He's trademarked freedom while being the most unfree person I know. He can't afford to stop. He can't afford to get sick. He can't afford to grow up. Toby is a character in a tragedy where the ending is a 60-year-old man trying to hustle on a beach because he never built a base. He's the poster child of the experience economy lie, a man who traveled the whole world but has nowhere to land. We see this everywhere in the van life trend. It's presented as the ultimate freedom, but it's often just homelessness with a better camera. You're living in a tin can, pooping in a bucket, and spending all your time looking for a parking spot that won't get you towed. Also, you can tell people you're exploring. Sure you are, Josh. Enjoy the cold beans and the lack of a shower. We've glamorized the struggle because we've been told that stability is for squares. But squares have health insurance and a retirement date. Squares don't have to start a GoFundMe when their transmission dies. So what's the reality, Chet? It's going to hurt, but here it is. Travel is a luxury, not a right, and it's a luxury you should buy with your excess, not your seed. The most radical experience you can have in your 20s is reaching a positive net worth. Real exploration is the ability to look at your boss and know that if they cross a line, you can walk away because you're not living month to month to pay off your last trip to Mykonos. Actionable travel isn't about finding yourself. It's about having a self-worth finding once the trip is over. The alternative is to embrace delayed gratification. This doesn't mean you never leave your house. It means you stop treating every long weekend like a Coachella headliner performance. It means you build the machine first so the machine can pay for the trips later. True freedom isn't a plane ticket. It's a balance sheet that allows you to say no to things you hate. Think about the enlightenment you felt on your last trip. Did it last, or did it evaporate the moment you stepped back into the airport and realized you were $50 overdrawn? That travel glow is just a dopamine hit, and like any drug, the come down is expensive. The world wants you to believe that if you don't travel now, you'll be too old later. This is a lie designed to make you spend. You can hike a mountain at 40. You can sit on a beach at 50, and it's a lot more enjoyable when you're not worried about the interest accruing on your life. The experience economy is just the new face of consumerism. It's stuff repackaged as spirituality. If you want to actually see the world, own a piece of it first. Invest in your 40s while you're in your 20s, and your 60s will look a lot more like a vacation than a struggle for survival. The most authentic thing you can do is be the person who can afford to travel when everyone else is forced to work. Don't trade your kingdom for a couple of cool photos and a story about a guy named Wolfgang you met in a hostel. Wolfgang is going back to a rent-controlled apartment in Berlin. You're going back to a mountain of debt and a career you're too broke to leave. Your gap year is actually a trap year. Stop chasing the sunset and start chasing the compound interest.